wake up and smile. Okay, raise your right hand.
I, Latitia Horace,
Do solemnly swear or affirm
do solemnly swear or affirm
that I will faithfully execute
that I will faithfully execute
the duties of the office
the duties of the office
of Council Member District 1
of Council Member District 1
of the City of Jacksonville,
of the City of Jacksonville,
State of Texas,
State of Texas,
and will to the best of my ability
and will to the best of my ability
preserve, protect, and defend
preserve, protect, and defend
the Constitution and laws
the Constitution and laws
of the United States
of the United States
and of this state,
and of this state,
so help me God.
so help me God.
And Mr. Tim McRae.
I, Tim McRae,
Do solemnly swear or affirm
do solemnly swear or affirm
that I will faithfully execute
that I will faithfully execute
the duties of the office
the duties of the office
of Council Member District 3
of Council Member District 3
of the City of
of
Jacksonville,
the City of Jacksonville,
State of Texas,
State of Texas,
and will to the best of my
and
ability
will to the best of my ability
preserve, protect, and defend
preserve, protect, and defend
the Constitution and laws
the Constitution and laws
of the United States
of the United States
and of this state,
and of this state,
so help me
so
God.
help me God.
Appreciate it. All right. Get everybody sworn in. Our next item is nomination and election of a mayor pro tem. This is something we do each year. So I will entertain a motion from the council to nominate a mayor pro tem.
Mayor and council, it's my pleasure to nominate Councilwoman Mindy Gellock as our upcoming mayor pro tem.
Okay? We have a motion by Mayor Pro Tem, Tim McRae, to nominate Mrs. Gellick.
Second.
Second by Latitia Horace. Any discussion? Are you ready for that?
I'm very honored to be considered for this.
Okay?
Thank you.
All right. Okay, so all in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Hearing none, that motion carries. So that's great. Thank you very much. Our next item is special presentation, JEDCO presentation of the business of the month. Mr. Shane, thanks.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. As you know, each month we award a Business of the Month to a local business here in Jacksonville, and this month we have Wildflower Studio, so I'd like to invite Lindsay and Justin Roddy to come up today. So as many of you know, they bought the former Music's flower shop on South Jackson Street, which had been a staple in the community for many, many decades. And what they've done to the building and really reviving the business has been phenomenal. So we want to thank you guys for your investment in Jacksonville, for all that you do for the community. I know you work a lot with the high school and the CTE program, so thank you for helping guiding those students, and just thank you for your commitment to Jacksonville. Thank you.
We just want to say thank you to the community for the opportunity to come in and continue on that legacy that business has had. I think Lindsay's the third female owner of that business. It's been around since the 40s or 50s in Jacksonville. So just a huge honor for the award. We just want to make sure everybody knows how appreciative we are for the business.
That's great.
Thank you.
Thank you. Our next item is Police Week proclamation presented by me. So,
Purposely. Shane didn't have us do this. Thank you for the catch.
Cancel that.
Calvary.
Officers Memorial Day and the week in which it falls is Police Week. Whereas, since the first recorded death in 1786, more than 24,000 law enforcement officers in the United States have made the ultimate sacrifice and been killed in the line of duty, including 4 members of the city of Jacksonville, Texas. And whereas the International Association of Chiefs of Police has declared law enforcement officer safety and wellness as a top priority, and the IACP Center for Office Safety and Wellness promotes the importance of individual, family, agency, and community safety and wellness awareness. Whereas the members of the Law Enforcement Agency of Jacksonville, Texas played a central role in safeguarding the rights and freedoms of the citizens of Jacksonville, Texas. And whereas it is important that all citizens know and understand the problems, duties, and responsibilities of their police department, and that members of our police department recognize their duty to serve the people by safeguarding life and property, by protecting them against violence or disorder, and by protecting the innocent against deception and the weak against oppression or intimidation. Now therefore, I, Randy Gorham, Mayor of the City of Jacksonville, Texas, formally designate May 11 through 17, 2026 as Police Week in Jacksonville, Texas, and publicly salute the service of law enforcement officers in our community and communities across this nation.
I need to actually bring that up at the end of the day. Right. That's good.
You bet. Thank you, Steve. Appreciate y'all. Our next proclamation is our Motorcycle Safety Awareness Month proclamation. If you guys, one of my best friends, Robert Dye, is here to representing the group. So whereas today's society is finding more citizens involved in motorcycling on the roads of our country, and whereas 6,335 motorcyclists were killed in traffic crashes in 2023, which represents 15% of all traffic fatalities, and whereas campaigns have helped inform riders and motorists alike on motorcycle safety issues to reduce motorcycle-related risks, injuries, and most of all fatalities through a comprehensive approach to motorcycle safety. And whereas it is the responsibility of all who put themselves behind the wheel to become aware of motorcyclists, regarding them with the same respect as any other vehicle traveling the highways of this country. And it is the responsibility of riders and motorists alike to obey all traffic rules and safety rules. Whereas we're urging all of our community to become aware of the inherent danger involved in operating a motorcycle, and for riders and motorists alike to give each other the mutual respect they deserve. Now therefore, I, Randy Gorham, Mayor of Jacksonville, Texas, do hereby proclaim this month of May 2026 as Motorcycle Safety and Awareness Month. So, Mr. Robert, congratulations.
In front of the podium, everybody else shift in. Y'all come up. Everybody else shift in.
weeks ago, Robert Dye always asked me, and I always love to do it, to judge the taco cook-off that they have down at Commerce Street, and they can cook some good tacos.
We appreciate it. Rub it into Stephen a little bit, because he stood me up.
Did he? Yeah, wow, okay, I'll talk to him afterwards. Yeah, thanks for all you do for
We
the community.
appreciate y'all, man. Thank you.
All right, thank you.
We'll get out of here and let y'all have it.
Give us a good rev up before you leave.
There's not one here.
Not one today, yeah.
Being here talking to ourselves.
Short and sweet, honey, short and sweet.
No, make it plain.
Our next item, while we're waiting for them to crank their Harleys up, is citizens' participation. This is a time we set aside to hear the concerns of our citizenry. It's not a time that we can have a dialogue with anybody that wants to talk to your council. We didn't get any cards. Was there anybody here that would like to say anything? Okay. If not, we'll go to item number 10, our consent agenda. Items under the consent agenda require little or no deliberation by the council. And we've got one, it's approving some minutes. So I will entertain a motion on our consent agenda.
Mayor, I make a motion that we approve our consent agenda as presented.
We have a motion by Councilwoman Latitia Horace.
Second.
Second by Mayor Pro Tem Mindy Gallant. Any discussion? If not, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, that motion passes. Item number 11 is any action out of executive session if necessary. And I think we do have one motion, so I will
Yes, we do,
entertain a
Mayor.
motion.
I'd like to make a motion to extend the city attorney's contract by 1 year.
Okay, we have a motion to extend his contract by 1 year.
Second.
Second by Councilman Rob Goen. Any discussion? Comments? He does a fantastic job. We appreciate it.
Very lucky.
Absolutely. All right. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, that motion carries. Item number 12 is to discuss and consider an award of a work order for professional services for the rehabilitation of an elevated storage tank and a groundwater storage tank.
Yes, Mayor, City Council, on the screen are the two tanks for discussion this evening. The first is the 1 million gallon, we call it a water tower, I think that's what many of us would call it, up at Anvil Street and generally North Bolton, and then a 2 million gallon ground storage tank on Dorothy Street, both of these being in the northwest quadrant of the city. You see the budget there on the left-hand side of the screen. This budget year, the one we're currently in, FY26, contains $1.5 million of funding for the rehabilitation of the water tower, and an additional $250,000 for design services for the 2 million gallon storage tank on Dorothy. And then our FY27 forecast, which has not been adopted but is forecast as part of the CIP or the capital improvement budget, had 1.25 allocated from the utility fund for the rehabilitation of the Dorothy storage tank for a total just over $3 million. We're tonight bringing forward a professional service contract or agreement with Schaumburg and Polk. They actually had a lot to do with the design and construction of the water tower. But we're bringing forward tonight a contract valued at $242,490 for engineering design services, bidding assistance, and construction inspections. As we discussed on Thursday, the lion's share of that amount actually has to do with the construction inspections over the roughly 4 to 6 months that these projects will take once underway. You see that based on the latest engineer's estimate, both tanks are estimated to cost $1.7 million. We're getting some economies of scale by bidding this as a package and hopefully getting one vendor in here with one mobilization cost, one bonding cost, things of that nature, to hopefully complete both projects at an all-in cost of just over $2 million, projecting a savings of about $1,050,000 to get both of these projects done. So if approved tonight, we'll engage Schaumburg and Polk for the design. It'll take several months for them to get that done, and then we'll start the bidding. This will come back to you when we're ready to recommend a vendor to complete the actual construction work. I know on Thursday we also discussed what the water tower could possibly look like. We talked about some artwork. I think Mayor Councilman McCray, I believe you brought up maybe a tomato or something. That's something that we can work with Schaumburg and Polk to include as an ad alternate. What an ad alternate is something that we include in the bid documents as an optional cost that the city can opt into or agree to after we see what the cost of that would be. From Googling, from asking some folks, it seems like we're getting a range from $10 to $75 to $100,000 increase to go from just a plain white paint job to artwork. And if it could go north of that depending on the complexity of the artwork. But bidding it out is really where the rubber meets the road. We can guesstimate, but until we see it on documentation, it's very, very difficult. But there are also some benefits likely to keeping the tower white or a light color for fading and for water temperatures and things of that nature that may be complicated if we were to do a tomato.
Okay, you've heard that presentation. I will entertain a motion on the rehabilitation water tank contract.
I'll make a motion to approve the contract with SPI.
Okay. We have a motion by Councilman Rob Goen,
Second?
second by Councilman Tim McCray. Any discussion?
So just,
Yeah, go.
well, I was just gonna say, just so I'm clear, so what we're approving tonight is for the professional services, right?
That's correct.
That
And
was
then
my-
you'll come back.
That was my question too.
Yeah,
Okay.
we'll come back and
Yes.
look at the actual bidding of the work and what that's gonna
Absolutely.
come out to, okay?
Yes.
Yeah.
And then, like we talked about on Thursday, the life expectancy of these tanks is roughly about 15-20 years, so it's time now for them to be refurbished and rehabilitated?
Yes, we've had multiple inspections performed as recently as within the last 30 days that show rehabilitation is in our best interest.
Yeah, okay. But no concerns about our water quality?
No, ma'am.
Okay.
And the life expectancy of a water tower is well over 20 years. This is a rehabilitation, so this is just incremental preventative maintenance to extend that life.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Okay.
A new water tower of that size would be millions and millions of dollars.
Wow.
Yeah.
Any other questions, comments? If not, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, that motion carries. Our next item is our quarterly financial report presented by Finance Director Roxana Brown. The most exciting thing of the year.
Oh, Randy
What everyone
loves this
waits
stuff.
So, good evening, Mayor and council members. I'm here tonight to present the second quarterly report of fiscal year 26. And this is going to be activity through March 31st, or just at one half of the fiscal year. So at the midpoint right now, we're continuing on a stable and positive financial trajectory. Total revenues collected to date are sitting at approximately $17.8 million, which represents 57.7% of our budget, and that's well ahead of our 50% benchmark. Total expenditures are approximately $13 million, or 33% of the budget, which is well below the benchmark. So the favorable variance at this stage is reflecting some strong early property tax collections, conservative spending patterns across the departments, and then also the timing of capital and operational expenditures that happen seasonally or mainly in the summer. It's also important to note that long blue line from last year represents one-time just over $11 million in bond proceeds, which is why the revenue is so much larger prior year than this year. Speaking of revenue, here are our major revenue trends. Ad valorem taxes have reached just under 91% of the budget, and they're 5.7% higher than prior year. Sales tax collections are at 47.7% of the budget, which is slightly below our projections at this time, and just barely lower than last year. But all in all, we're remaining pretty flat from last year with sales tax. Water and sewer revenues remain stable. Water sales are at 44.6% of the budget, which is up 4.2% over prior year, And the sewer revenues at 45.5% of the budget are up 21% from prior year, reflecting those rate adjustments that went into effect in January. Sanitation fees, 46.8% of the budget with steady growth over prior year. Ambulance fees are gangbusters right now. We reached 58.2% of projections and are showing strong collection and performance this year. Hot taxes, 44% collected and are increased almost 7% over last fiscal year. And then finally, the municipal court revenues. We're continuing in a positive trend compared to last year, reflecting our improved efforts on processing cases. Expenditure highlights. Just a quick overall expenditures. The general fund in total is at 42.8% of the budget, which is typical because of seasonality. Utility expenditures also low at 27.3% of budget, and that's because of those capital and infrastructure projects. The city's largest expenditure category is the one on the board. That's the employee services. We've spent about $5.39 million or 41.8% of our budget, which is in line with our expectations. We're experiencing stable staffing levels, control over overtime, and effective management of the benefits and insurance costs. Certain departments are above benchmarking due to timing, non-departmental expenditures. They have front-loaded costs, such as our insurance for the entire year. The finance department is over budget right now because we pay quarterly payments to the appraisal district for building and collection services. Those are always paid in advance at the beginning of the quarter. And then communications and public and community services, they also had some early front-loaded expenditures, with all other departments remaining below the 50% threshold. The next big expenditure category, or the only other one we're going to talk about, is capital. Right now, we've spent almost $900,000, or about 8% of our $11.4 million capital budget. We do have encumbrances exceeding $3.2 million, indicating that we do have some major projects underway. Key projects, money-wise, for this fiscal year are the U.S. Highway 175 relocation project, the Canada Street construction project, and then the wastewater treatment plant expansion, and the sanitary sewer line. Also, our normal public safety vehicle and equipment replacement programs. Fund balance, I'll talk about the big three funds. With the general fund first, it's continuing to perform well. Revenues are exceeding expenditures, and reserves are well above the policy targets. In the utility fund, there's also a strong balance supported by restricted bond proceeds, which are designated for those bond projects. And then the capital projects fund, it's continuing to carry forward resources for infrastructure investment. And the rest of the special revenue funds are stable and sufficient for their intended purposes. Finally, the cash and investments. We usually reach about our top at the end of March, and right now we're sitting at approximately $36 million. That's diversified across cash and investment pools, treasuries, CDs, commercial paper, money market funds. Liquidity is sufficient to meet all of our operational and capital needs, and our investments continue to comply with the Texas Public Funds Investment Act. In closing, we're in a strong financial position. Revenues are outperforming and below budget. Capital projects are progressing, and fund balances are stable and above the targeted amounts. That's all I really have about the quarterly report. Is there any kind of questions you have that you would like to know about financials through the end of March?
Wonderful report.
Okay, that concludes my report.
Very good. Our next item is a public hearing to receive citizen input regarding the 25-26 fiscal year budget amendments. So,
Let's go ahead and let her make her
Yeah,
presentation, followed by the public
there
hearing.
you go. Perfect.
Okay, thank you so much. These are our fiscal year 25-26 budget amendments. The purpose of the amendments is to align the budget with current operations, known changes, and updated projections identified through our mid-year budget review process. The adjustments are intended to maintain transparency, improve accuracy, and ensure that the budget continues to reflect what's actually going on while avoiding unnecessary or excessive amendments. How do we do this? Staff conducts a comprehensive review, and when I say staff, that's like all the department heads, their staff. We're looking at everything to do our mid-year forecast. One important thing that we did change this year, if you look at the backup, you'll be able to see a summary by department, so you can see across all the different funds the department's change in budget as per the amendments. Of all the proposed amendments, there are approximately $919,000 in revenue adjustments and just over $1.1 million in expenditure adjustments, for a net impact of negative $250,000 across all funds. Despite the adjustments, our overall financials are fine. We're not just all of a sudden losing $250,000. Has to do with moving projects that weren't in the budget over and getting them included in the budget mostly. So our major funds, with the general fund, we're proposing a net positive adjustment of approximately $178,000. Several of our revenues are performing above budget, particularly building permits, ambulance fees, franchise fees, and other service-related revenues. At the same time, we also experienced some operational and personnel-related adjustments, we budget for our entire full staff, you're not always fully staffed, those kind of things. One of the largest impacts that you're going to see is the impact to the capital projects fund. The proposed adjustments include funding for design, engineering, and building costs associated with the public safety complex. The net impact is approximately a negative $683,000. However, that's offset by, at the end of last year, we transferred over $550,000 from the general fund over to that fund. So that helps offset that $683,000. And then on the utility fund, we have a net positive adjustment of approximately $336,000. Interest income has been strong. Service-related revenues are continuing to perform favorably, and expenditure adjustments were related to operational activity, maintenance, system improvement projects that occurred throughout the year. Other adjustments, smaller ones, are for grant activity, personal and benefit changes, staffing levels, payroll trends, operational cost, just a bunch of little smaller housekeeping items in the other funds. And also just want you to note that the amendments are not trying to fully align every single budget item with the projected ending. It's just to make it reflect a better picture for transparency. So the proposed amendments support our goals of maintaining financial transparency, ensuring sound fiscal management, supporting infrastructure and facility needs, and aligning resources with operational priorities and service demands. We recommend that you conduct the required public hearing and approve the ordinance in your packet for the 25-26 budget amendments. Does anybody have any questions about those?
Roxanna, I think I'm still trying to wrap my head around, so the $250,000 kind of net loss, if you will, the adjustment that's being made. Where does that money come from, or does it come from anywhere? Are we having to pull it from the general funds, from various general funds to make up for it, or?
No, it's $250,000 is across all the funds, and most of the items are things that weren't included in the budget because at budget time last year, we said these projects were going to be complete. An example of that is going to be the Highway 175. So we thought that was going to be complete last fiscal year.
Okay.
The money is still there, it's
just
ran its
rolled over
bond.
to a new fiscal year.
Yes, we're just clarifying the budget to make it line up.
Okay. So the money's there. We're just adjusting the numbers on paper.
Yes,
Okay, so this is almost like a paper loss.
yes.
Okay,
It's kind of like the capital budget, you know, it was projected to be a negative 668.
Yes.
But we probably picked up the $500,000 revenue in the capital projects fund last year
Yes.
as revenue. Now there's a
But now the
timing issue.
expenditure
Now we're
is
gonna
happening.
spend it all, which puts us
Okay.
in the hole, and we're really not.
on
in the hole.
paper, but
Right.
we're really not in the
That's
hole.
right.
Okay,
Yes.
I got you. That's
Okay.
good. Thank you.
Any other questions for Roxanna?
Thank you, Russ.
If not, I will open up a public hearing to receive and hear citizen input regarding these fiscal year budget adjustments. So the public hearing is open. If anybody would like to speak in favor of or against it, now's your time. So, seeing none and hearing none, I will close this portion of the public hearing and go to item number B. Act upon an ordinance making the budget adjustments presented by staff, so I will entertain a motion on those budget amendments.
Yeah. Mayor, I make a motion that we approve the budget amendments presented by staff.
Have a motion by Councilwoman Latitia Horace,
Second?
second by Councilman Tim McRae. Any discussion? No? All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, that motion carries. Item number 15 is we will also hear a public hearing. Hear and receive citizen input regarding the requested annexation of 58.776 acres of land in block number 17 of the Jose Pineda East 4-League Grant, abstract number 41, Cherokee County, Texas, located near the southwest corner of Highway 69 and Loop 456. Mr. Shane.
Thank you. Excuse me. Thank you, Mayor and Council. As we talked about at your last meeting, this request here is for voluntary annexation. Jedco purchased this property in November of 2025. It's about just approximately 60 acres, 58.5 is what you see on the screen there, with the purpose of basically conserving that land for future development for industrial or manufacturing type uses. The requested zoning designation on this property would be O, open space or agricultural. The purpose of that is so that any future use would be required to rezone that, and that would come before the city council should you deem that use appropriate. So there are some control measures in place. As you're aware, annexation in the state of Texas can only take place through the voluntary nature, and so that's Jedco's request today. A public hearing is required, but I'm happy to answer any questions you may have about that.
Anybody else? Any questions for Shane? Thank you. If not, I will open up a public hearing to hear and receive citizen input regarding this voluntary annexation. If anybody would like to come and speak in favor of or against that annexation, now's your time. Hearing none and seeing none, we will close that public hearing. Go to item B, discuss and consider with possible action an ordinance accepting the requested annexation. I will entertain a motion.
Mayor, I make a motion we accept the requested annexation.
We have a motion by Mayor Pro Tem Mindy Gallup,
Second?
second by Councilman Tim McRae. Any questions, discussion? If not, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, that motion carries. Item number 16 is the second reading of a resolution in support of a Jacksonville Economic Development Corporation grant of $100,000 for renovation and improvements for a building located at 2041 North Jackson Street, and a $50,000 job grant for the creation of new primary jobs for a total not to exceed $150,000. Mr. Shane.
Yes, sir. Thank you again, Mayor and Council. As I presented at your Thursday workshop, this is a request for approval of a resolution in support of an economic development project for a company called Epic Supply Solutions. This was heard by the Jedco board on April 16th. They did approve this unanimously. As you see on the screen here, there are some information about the founders and operators of this organization. Generally, what they're bringing to this community will be a new manufacturing facility that will cover everything from tool and die, plastic injection molding, fiberglass work, to be distributed across many different networks of the industrial manufacturing industry. The proposed incentive is a total of $150,000, as the mayor read in the caption. $100,000 of that will be for capital improvements to the building. That's tied specifically to items that are permanent assets that remain with the building, so we're not funding equipment that can be removed at some point down the road. and then an additional $50,000 job grant. That job grant is tied to the jobs that they will actually create, and that's based on the salaries for each one of those positions that's created. So they are required to provide annual reporting, and they'll be reimbursed on an annual basis based on that employment. As you'll see on the screen there, they're projected to create 15 to 20 new jobs over the next 3 years. That could grow faster than that. It could grow slower than that, but their anticipation is 15 to 20 over the next 3 years. They have an annual payroll of about $1 million, and their annual revenue by year 3 is anticipated to be around $3 or $4 million. So this is a good project. The individuals who are operating this entity have many, many years' experience in the East Texas region, a broad client base, and we feel confident that they're going to bring something good to the community, and so we are in support of this. Questions?
No.
Okay.
I do have one
Yes,
quick
ma'am.
question, I'm sorry.
No.
Do they have up to 3 years to fulfill the job creation portion of this?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
So it'll be a 3-year performance agreement on an annual basis. Based on the number of employees, we'll reimburse them using that sliding scale.
Okay.
Yes, ma'am. Okay, so reading the caption, this is a resolution of the City Council of the City of Jacksonville, Texas, approving projects of the Jacksonville Economic Development Corporation that may include land, buildings, equipment, facilities, expenditures targeted at infrastructure and improvements found by the Jacksonville Economic Development Corporation's Board of Directors to promote new or expanded business development within the City of Jacksonville, providing for severability and establishing an effective date.
Thank you.
Thanks, sir.
Item B is to discuss and consider with possible action on the resolution in support of the Jacksonville Economic Development Corporation grant of $100,000 for renovation and improvements of the building located at 2041 North Jackson Street, and the $50,000 job grant for the creation of new primary jobs for a total not to exceed $150,000. So I will entertain a motion on that resolution.
Mayor, I'll make a motion that we pass the resolution as you just read it.
Okay, we have a motion by Councilman Tim McRae,
Second.
second by Councilwoman Latitia Horse. Any discussion? If not, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, that motion carries. Item number 17, act upon an interlocal agreement with Texas Department of Motor Vehicles for scofflaw services. Mr. James.
Yes, Mayor, City Council, these items 17 and 18 are kind of tied at the hip with the intent of increasing our ability to collect on warrant revenue, traffic citations, Class C misdemeanors. We currently have about 3,000 outstanding warrants to 1,800 or so unique individuals. That stems back 30 years or so. But we do want to partner with MVBA, we're recommending that, and also with the Texas Department of Motor Vehicles to do our best to recoup those funds through the scofflaw program. MVBA will administer that pursuant to your approval of the MOU with them tonight, and also pursuant to the approval with the ILA with the DMV. What this does is puts a hold on somebody's registration renewal, which is an annual process to operate a motor vehicle, as opposed to, or in addition to, the city's current Omni hold, which puts a hold on a driver's license. Generally, driver's licenses only have to be renewed in the state of Texas every 6 years. So that makes it a little more challenging for that hold to be effective. An annual process is much more likely to mean that somebody comes here to the court to make a payment plan or settle up their warrant obligations with the city. We have currently about $3 million of outstanding warrants. If I had not mentioned that, about $2 million would be due to the city, the remainder going to the state. So again, item 17 is to approve the ILA or the interlocal agreement with the DMV, and then 18 is to allow MVBA to act and to administer the scofflaw program.
Okay, so we'll take them one at a time, I guess. I'll entertain a motion to approve the interlocal agreement with Texas Department of Motor Vehicles for scofflaw services.
I make a motion, we approve the interlocal agreement with Texas Department of Motor Vehicles for scofflaw services.
We have a motion by Mayor Pro Tem Mindy Gallup,
I'll second.
second by Councilman Rob Goen. Any questions, comments? If not, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, that motion carries. And then the one associated with that is, I will entertain a motion to execute a memorandum of understanding with MVBA for those scofflaw services.
Mayor, I make a motion that we approve an MOU with MVBA for scofflaw services.
Have a motion by Councilwoman Latitia Horace,
Second?
second by Councilman Tim McRae. Any discussion? If not, oh,
I was just gonna say, I look forward to us seeing
Yeah.
what those collection efforts look
boy,
like.
that'd be true. That'd be nice.
Yes.
All in favor say aye. Aye. Any opposed? Hearing none, that motion carries. Item number 19 is to discuss and consider acceptance of a donation from the Jacksonville Community Arts Alliance for sculptures to be installed at Buckner Park.
Yes, Mayor, City Council, at Thursday's workshop, you received a presentation from Cassie DeVillier, the Executive Director of the Jacksonville Community Arts Alliance. They are looking to make a donation to the city for the installation of three large sculptures. We'll get to the dimensions here in a moment. Crafted by artist based out of Nacogdoches, Texas, but born here in Jacksonville, Jeffy Brewer. As she described, she had no idea Mr. Brewer was even from Jacksonville, no relation to our counselor there, Brett Brewer. But she had no idea he had any ties to Jacksonville, came across him on Instagram, kind of fell in love with his artwork, as did her board. Some of it was featured at their most recent Art de Mayo fundraiser downtown Jacksonville. And so they are prepared to donate, and I think they do plan to seek some JEDCO assistance through their Parks Grant program as well. 3 sculptures for installation at Buckner Park. This is a program that they really hope generates some excitement and can be expanded into additional parks throughout town. You see the dimensions there in inches, so to give you an idea, the steer, the bull, or the longhorn, whatever you want to call it, is about 9 feet tall. The howling coyote, it too is about 9 feet tall, and then the hog or boar, roughly 6 feet tall. So these are larger pieces of art. They're very industrial in their construction. I believe them to be about 6 inches deep to give them some depth, and they'll be bolted down within the park, and they're coated with a high quality paint. We'll develop a simple agreement related to their maintenance obligations, and also should the city need to relocate them in the future to accommodate the expansion of a parking lot or something like that, we'll want them to be apprised of that. This is where they're looking to locate them in Buckner Park. This was not a slide included on Thursday, but just west of the pool, just north of the playground. It's an area relatively unused right now, and also relatively shaded. I think that'll do well to kind of activate that use of the park space, as well as keep the structures relatively cool.
Okay.
James, what is that maintenance agreement when you reference that? What is that going to entail?
It's going to be very, very simple. Like I said, one pager, but basically when rust or anything, may show itself, if they need to be repowder coated, repainted, that comes at the obligation of JCAA. And that's something that they've offered up.
Okay, so it's not going to be on the city to maintain and keep it?
Correct.
Okay.
Very good. I'll entertain a motion.
I'll make a motion that we accept the donation.
We have a motion by Councilman Rob Goen,
Second?
second by Councilman Tim McRae. Any discussion? I know, I think at Thursday's workshop, there was kind of wondering why Buckner Park, how was that chosen? And my understanding, based on our park survey, more people visit Buckner Park than any other park. And I think they were putting all 3 of them there to make that gigantic splash to garner interest, like, hey, well, we want to spread those to other parks. I think it was just traffic count, basically, is what that was about. It was a great question.
I'll say, I failed to mention, and I don't know that this came up Thursday, they're valued at about $25,000. That's the cost of these sculptures. They're around $8,000 a piece. I think the sculpture.
Okay, the total cost is $25,000.
Correct.
Oh, okay. I thought you were saying 25 a piece.
And I think that includes $5,000 of installation foundation work, so maybe closer to about $7,000 per sculpture.
And although the 2 brewers are not related, they both use a hammer in their job. All right, we have a motion and a second. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, that motion carries. Item number 20 is to discuss with possible action authorizing the city manager to approve repairs to water well number 5 located on Bailey Lane.
Mayor, Council, Randall's back with us tonight, so if you have any technical questions, he'll be more than happy to come forward. Well 5, our most easternly well, is currently out of service. It was just producing at a volume below what would be expected, so in an effort to make sure we didn't encourage or encounter any additional damage, we just went ahead and cut it off. We are recommending that we have the pump and motor pulled test. The cost of just pulling the motors and getting them kind of bench tested and evaluated is going to be closer to around $10,000. And then from there, we'll know what the all-in cost is to have them repaired. We'll bid out and seek competitive bids for the repairs. But we just want to hopefully get approval tonight. We're seeking approval tonight so that once we find out the nature of the needed repairs, we can execute those prior to the June City Council meeting. No water quality issues, no household issues at this point, but something before we get into irrigation season and heavy summer usage that we'd like to bring back online.
James, do you need the motion to include the estimated $125,000?
Yeah, I think it would be prudent to do like a not to exceed $125,000 amount. We feel comfortable with that.
I'll entertain a motion.
Well, Mayor, I'll make the motion that we approve the repairs to well number 5, provided they don't exceed the estimated $125,000.
Okay, we have a motion by Councilman Tim McRae,
Second.
second by Mayor Pro Tem Mindy Gallup. Any discussion? If not, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, that motion carries. Item number 21 is to discuss and consider approval of a replat of Lot 32AR, Block A, Section 2 of the Lake Springs subdivision, CAD ID 117132.
Yes, Mayor, City Council, the next two items are very similar and before you this evening as they're city-owned leasehold lots. The first lot here, item 21, lies on the west side of the lake, generally due west of the campground area or the city park. Looking at the plat itself, it would create two lots, with the smaller being .571 acres and the larger being .579 acres. The eastern lot, if you will, does contain a single frame or a single-story frame residence. The western lot currently contains a metal shop with an overhang, and that's what the owner is seeking to have approved this evening.
Okay. So I'll entertain a motion on the replat of that lot as mentioned by Mr. James, Lot 32.
I'll make a motion, we approve the replat.
All right, we have a motion by Councilman Rob Goen.
Second.
Is that Latitia?
Yes,
Okay, second
sorry.
by Councilwoman Latitia Horace. Any discussion? If not, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, that motion carries. Item number 22 is to discuss and consider approval of a replat, lots 46A and 46B in Block A of the Lake Springs subdivision, CAD ID 1116311123 and ID number 5303810000.
Mayor, City Council, very similar, also a county-based lot on the western bank of Lake Jacksonville. These lots are, however, a little bit larger. We have one lot being created or two out of one, if you will. And so we'll have a 3.456 acre lot, which will be 46A, and a 1.615 acre lot, new lot 46B.
I'll entertain a motion for that replat.
I'll make a motion, we approve that replat.
Have a motion by Councilman Rob Goen,
Second?
second by Councilman Tim McRae. Any discussion? If not, all in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Hearing none, that motion carries. Well, that wraps up our regular agenda. Open forum for mayor and council. Anybody have anything? Yeah, go ahead. Oh, no, you go ahead. No,
Okay, I was just gonna say, I'm looking forward to serving my second term as city council representative for District 1.
Great.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah. It pays the same as the first term.
Yes, the first term. No raises or anything.
No raises, yeah.
Well darn.
As most of you are probably aware, the city council, we appoint a lake advisory board, and they have meetings to discuss the needs of Lake Jacksonville. They did have a meeting May 1. Typically, they come up with a formal recommendation. They probably got the temperature of the lake, not literally the water, but the rules and regulations, things that we need out there. We feel like they've got a better feel for that. Once they meet, most of the time they come with forward to place in front of the city council an agenda for review and consideration as far as a recommendation. They did have a meeting on May 1, and they recommended an item regarding surf boats. It generated an incredible amount of concern. which stemmed from a proposed regulation and limited public input. That was, I've been in the city business 7 years. I've probably got more phone calls this last 2 weeks than I have all those years put together. But to their respect, upon learning of all of the concerns, that board called a special meeting. It was held here yesterday. The chambers were full, standing room only. They had a public hearing. They heard some opposition. They talked about and studied. Maybe we didn't think about that side. So this resulted in the board rescinding their May 1 recommendation. So they didn't have to call that special meeting, but they did. I'd like to give James some credit because he probably knew it was going to be a hot potato. We generally, when they make a recommendation to the city council, we put it on the next agenda. But we thought, hey, this could be potentially, or he did, a smoking gun. And he decided to not put it there, kind of let it cool off as we may. And that was a great choice that he made. And they pulled that recommendation. It wasn't something the city council charged the Lake Advisory Board to put on their meeting. It was just something that they had discussed for years, literally 2 or 3 years. And they decided to maybe just bring it forth. It caused some opposition. They're going to study it some more. But your city council, it was at noon on Monday, and I'm happy to report that our city council, we support all of our committees that we appoint. And I'm pleased to say that all city council members were here yesterday to listen to those concerns from the citizenry. So I appreciate the work of our advisory boards and their committees, and we certainly remain committed to listening to the people that we serve. So that's my comment.
Thank you, Mayor.
You're
I'd
welcome.
like to add a
Mayor
little bit
Pro
to that
Tem.
if I can. In addition to having Lake Jacksonville within my district, it's where I live, it's my home, and I take seriously its continued beauty and attraction. While I fully appreciate the May 1st recommendation of the Lake Advisory Board, I felt yesterday's action to repeal the recommendation was a prudent and wise decision. Based on what I've heard, I would like to direct the city manager to develop a public input and notification process specific to actions related to the lake rules and regulations. I appreciate the challenges of representing the various lake interests and realize that only approximately 30% of the homes on Lake Jacksonville are within the city limits. A standardized and publicized process is vital to maintain the neighborhood quality of life of our lake citizens. The residents enjoy it, the people who come visit Lake Jacksonville that don't necessarily live here. So we want it to be good for everybody. I'm also requesting an update related to enforcement of lake rules and regulations, especially distance and noise requirements, be presented at the June City Council workshop meeting. It was, and hopefully I'm going to say this right, that was the overwhelming, I think, consensus was that we just needed to enforce the current regulations, that they didn't necessarily need to change, we just needed to enforce what was currently being done. And we do have a new lake patrol out, so we're excited to get that done.
We'd be glad to make that happen.
Great, thank you. Anybody else?
No.
Nothing? Nothing done on that end? City manager's report then.
Really light tonight. Tomorrow, and I failed to make a slide for this, my apologies. I got busy on the one for the special presentation, but we do have police officer memorial ceremony taking place at the Public Safety Complex at 10 o'clock tomorrow. We would encourage folks to join us for that. It's always a really special remembrance. We did hear about those that lost their life in the line of service for us here in Jacksonville. So tomorrow's a special day. Again, 10 a.m. at 911 South Bolton Street. And then this Friday, we will have our second to last spring concert put on by local Todd Freeman. He's coming home, as he's, I think, been posting on his Facebook posts and everything. He's putting that show on for a very reasonable fee to give back to our community. We appreciate that. JW's will be our food vendor, and Sadler's will be our drink vendor Friday night. We've almost had a couple of rainouts. We've had a couple of rain scares, but everything's worked out so far. I guess we had one reschedule, the Cinco de Mayo event. But anyway, and then May 22nd, we'll round out the spring concert series, and then we'll hold off till fall. So that's all I got.
If you hadn't been coming to those, they're fantastic. They really are. It's a great evening in the park. The Cinco de Mayo one that we had to postpone to Sunday, I counted at one point, there was probably 225, 250 people there. They played great music. I did not understand a word they sung, but it was still great. It was great. So, yeah, neat deal. So, anybody else? If not, we'll stand adjourned at 7:00.